Questions to ask yourself while doing PhD, if you want to be in academia later at a top school, and some life philosophy in general. Am I working on something that I am, A, excited about, B, that I am talented for, C, where I have a chance of publishing and making a significant contribution in, D, making a career out of what I am doing, E, that I enjoy working and can look back and say if I did this, I would feel a sense of accomplishment in life, F, is competitive enough to sell later in the market. Does my advisor A, care about the problem he or she/they are working on? B, are the problems important and worth spending time and energy on? Has the advisor given enough thought about it? C, does the advisor have enough expertise to work on those problems and solve them themselves? Then only they perhaps have the capability to guide you on those. D, is my advisor well known in the community and has a reputation to send me to a respectable place in academia? Does my advisor A, care about fostering my talent, as the most important thing, more important than satisfying a grant? Remember, academia is not supposed to be a paper writing industry as it is today. The main job of academia is to be at the intersection of quality research and honing students' potential. Right now, it is totally outside this intersection, largely where the money is. But it is not the main job of academia to get grants and hire naive smart students to publish. Does my advisor, A, give me enough academic freedom to think about new ideas, B, has enough money to support me for my PhD stint, C, is a nice person and is reasonable, D, has previously placed students in academia at respectable places, E, isn't just a paper publishing machine, F, is indeed publishing good quality papers at top venues, G, their work aligns with the way my mind thinks about the problems. Find an advisor/university where A, the climate is good, so it isn't a drag on your performance. B, has a good social environment. C, has an environment to go to top schools in academia after graduating. D, get the smartest and the most talented people from the world so you are surrounded with the best people in the world who want to do same things as you and challenge/compliment you in life. If you are eventually a professor at a top research school, you basically would identify as one of the smartest people in the field in the world, who has the ability to make most significant contributions in that field. So, if you have good enough reason to believe that you have a chance to be in a top research school as an academic, you should start identifying yourself as above from the starting and invest yourself in only those things that let you achieve your maximum potential. Every single person who made it big was at some point was having similar thought process as you, and every single person who is going to make it big is going to have a thought process same as you. In your 20s you are in the best shape of your life, and with that kind of energy and with the right kind of advisor who has a lot of valuable experience and who at some point felt the same way you feel about yourself now, and being around other people who feel the same way as you do, is a deadly combination and can only be found at top-ranking schools. You would basically be the most selfish person in the world who primarily cares about their talent as the biggest gift and wants to reach their highest potential as the primary goal in life. This is how any good academician, Olympic athlete, musician or any talented person thinks of themselves. Try to avoid any person, thing or ideology that tries to take that focus away from you and onto anything else. Your advisor, friends, family, society, significant others, and life philosophy, all should basically help and complement you in achieving your maximum potential. Try to stay away from anything that doesn't help you or disorient you from that goal. And try to stay around those people who also think of themselves in the same way. There are a lot of people in the world who don't and may not be most aligned to be friends with or to hang out with. This spirit of trying to achieve the best in you and do something important in life to change the world for better, is the most important and most non-negotiable thing in life that keeps you alive, and don't let it douse off at any cost. Finally, I would want to say, as much as I make you think that life is important and choosing the right advisor, right field and right school are one of the most important decisions, once you have made those big decisions and put your life on a track, do live a wholesome life. Make good friends, do silly things, travel, dance your nights, go hiking, go clubbing, go swimming in the lakes, go biking, think about the world, life and the universe, go stargazing, take random courses, etc., etc. But you can only do these things once the big questions in your life are settled, like the ones I mentioned before. Most people only advise to do these small things without emphasizing on the bigger questions I mentioned above. So do all these things within the perimeter of the bigger points mentioned before. But never in your life should you lose the grandeur of life and your own potential. If this is how a general life curve looks like, the only question is, where do you want to spend your maximum potential and around what people? It is all about how you fill up the space of time with richer, meaningful experiences, while avoiding the bad ones, having maximum fun while also creating something on the way that you can feel proud of and build your life on. All professors know in academia that while part of it is about the end, of creating something meaningful, equally if not more important is the journey. Having fun in the journey is a big part. Every single person so far has and will, unless we change our DNA, go through this life curve and their genes, nature, experiences, nurture, and their thought process has brought them where they are, and so will it be for you. Within your circumstances, you do some leverage to make right decisions and choose the life trajectory to fill your curve with the richest and most valuable experiences, to choose those people around you who are meaningful, who understand you and who bring value to you. Note that you have a lot of potential, and you can do a lot, but only within reason. And you cannot go back in time and change your past or actions. We are all making decisions without much information, and we will bear the cost and benefits of those decisions. At the end of the day, the reality exists the way it does, and it isn't always fair, but an ideal human is the master of reality who understands it, accepts it and builds their life in accordance with it. Few questions that a lot of PhD students spend a lot of their time on is what is the meaning of life, does God exist, what about different religions, philosophies etc. Here are some of my takes on those. Nobody in their lives has ever seen a God. And most likely you won't either. So, for most practical purposes it won't matter. We are very young as human civilization and in our knowledge. Pretty much all religions are less than few thousand years old while we know the universe is billions of years old. There are some truths here and there in every religion, but none is super consistent, and they are basically canned philosophies. They give some answers, but they aren't watertight and are pretty old and out of touch of modern times. Some religions, especially the ones based on one or few books, are outright wrong on many things. So, your parents, family, ancestors, teachers, peers and everyone in the world only know things that they have learnt, rightly or wrongly, and may or may not be true. However, there is one thing that is inevitably true, and this is logic. There are many ideologies and philosophies such as Epicurean, existentialism, nihilism, left, conservatives, communism, Nietzsche's, objectivism and so on. B. Scientifically speaking, we know that we are on a planet with life in a vast universe with no inherent meaning and purpose other than what we take on ourselves. C. We know that we got here through the process of evolution, which is just a blind algorithm that favors those who are fitter to survive. The process itself has no inherent meaning, and while it does endow individuals with very amazing potential and skills to survive in the jungle and in life, its main goal, so to speak, is to propagate your genes most successfully. It also endows you with many things such as emotions that may not always work in an individual's best interest, but could be good for the propagation of genes in a specific environment. So, while it does provide us with a lot of powers and emotions, and answers the question of how we came about on this planet, it doesn't answer the question of how we should live our lives, IMO. The main big religions in the world are Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism. Pretty much all of them tell you certain things on how to live life but won't tell you why. For the religions that are based on certain textbooks such as the Abrahamic religions, one can find a lot of things in those books that don't make sense in the modern world. So, they are clearly wrong on many things, while there are some things that do make sense in those books and are more or less common sense. Apart from the fact that they claim existence of a God that nobody has a proof of, they are wrong on the principle that any human being should use one book with certain rules to define how to live their life without rationalizing them. There are similar problems with Hinduism where the caste system, and many such traditions don't make sense in the modern society, and are indeed irrational. Moreover, none of the religions talk about rationality as a main tenet or about achieving human potential and its development in any form. Many Eastern religions such as Buddhism focus on renunciation and basically giving up on life, which emo is a very passive way of living life. Life is about living and not giving up. So, existentialism and objectivism come close to the reality. I personally find objectivism to be the most consistent philosophy so far, which is well defined, consistent with itself and the reality. As far as I can tell, it is closest to being the most rational way of living life on this planet. It asks for people to act in their self-interest, and I think is a very good framework if you want to succeed in life. There are some truths in existentialism and even in Nietzsche's philosophy, but none comes close to providing a way of living life in modern times and especially in STEM fields as objectivism. But one can always build a lot more based on one's experiences and ideas within some framework of objectivism. There are some philosophies such as nihilism and hedonism that dwell on the idea of meaninglessness in the universe to propagate the thought that if there is no God and no inherent meaning, and a person is free to do whatever they want, they could very well indulge in satisfying their evolutionary evolved instincts, such as living a life of leisure and indulging in worldly pleasures such as gluttony, lust, sloth, prestige, etc. And a lot of modern society is built around such themes, where most people do indulge in their savory tastes, as this is their primary way of living lives. The key idea that ties together the process of evolution as main attribute of our experiences on this planet and living a meaningful life is the idea of rationality. We know that the universe is governed by fundamental laws of physics and it highly consistent and logical. And to mimic that, we as humans are the only species on this planet that have the capability of thinking rationally. Objectivism, which propagates rationality, argues that the only way to live a meaningful life is to express your evolutionarily developed potential in the most rational way. This implies that eating, thinking and working healthy is a better way of living life than irrationally indulging in our basic instincts. In essence, all sensible virtues that we know either through religions or cultures, and much more, can be derived from the idea of rationality. There are also left and communist ideologies which focus a lot on inequalities that exist in the society. While it is very true that there are so many inequalities in life and people have different privileges that seem unfair, and their cauldron for equality does attract a lot of university students who have never lived real life, but the fact that these ideologies focus on other people instead of an individual makes them a bad framework, IMO. If you ever want to do anything meaningful in your life, your only focus should be yourself and, by transitive law, your family and loved ones. You can of course care about equality and justice in the society, but left and communist ideologies are not individualistic ideologies, i.e. don't care about individuals but rather on masses, and that makes them a very bad framework, again emo. If you are an Olympic athlete or a musician or a researcher, other than sociology, your main focus is yourself and on living your best life instead of on the ills of the society. You can be sympathetic and empathetic to those issues but not as your main focus. And that's why left or communist ideologies aren't conducive for personal growth of an individual, but might be useful in understanding and addressing some ills of the society. However, we can address them by process of rationality as well. Overall, I think we are in certain stage of evolution of human civilization, and given our means and technology we have limited resources, and knowledge and information, and with amazing human potential, are still inherently constrained by our circumstances. We all are living somewhat inefficient lives. Most people today don't find their true passion, a job that allows them to pursue their passion, a compatible partner who understands you, has same values and worldview, is psychologically compatible, most people don't a sense of meaning in life, and so on. Some do find these to different degrees. The way our material needs weren't met in 16th century, today our psychological needs aren't met, and although there is some trend of having technological solutions to find those, but we are quite underdeveloped as a civilization in understanding ourselves and to make right, rational decisions and have the right philosophy and thought process to live a good meaningful life. People in 25th century might look back at us the way we look back at 16th century to say how impoverished we were. So far, the only two philosophies that I know of that view humans as individuals and as heroes, who inspire you to reach the maximum in life and are elitist in nature, as opposed to egalitarian like left/communist/collectivist ideologies, who value human lives to the extreme, are objectivism and Nietzsche's philosophy. The most efficient life could be the one that fulfills all needs of human being on Maslow's triangle, such as food, shelter, security, connection, intimacy, and self-actualization. More so, you basically are happy, content and on the extreme, euphoric about life, i.e. you are using your human potential to the maximum capacity possible, be it physical, mental, intellectual, emotional, psychological, etc. Most likely you won't live this very efficient life, but probably close enough, as we are just in the times where we have solutions to all our problems and are to a good extent influenced by our circumstances. Most people don't have the right circumstances to achieve this extreme form of Nietzschean human euphoria, but could be possible on campuses of top schools and especially in mathematical fields, with the right field which is in tune with a person's psyche, right advisor and the right kind of people around to provide the best sort of environment, that is not there in the corporate, real, world. Many ills/irrationalities/inefficiencies that exist in the real world, such as racism, sexism, homophobia, are much less so on these idyllic campuses, as you deal with the smartest and most times most rational people who have gone through a strong grilling process to get to that position and who also want to live the best of their lives. One can argue that objectivism can be so influential because it asks you to live a rational life. Today the whole modern society is sitting on these ideas of rational thinking, be it through courts, democracy, science and technology and much more. In the same way, life was materially very poor pre-rational thought process, compared to what it is now, I believe that a person's life could much poor versus rich depending on if they don't incorporate rational though process versus if they do. You can't build a skyscraper with inconsistency in its foundation, neither can you build a grand life. B. Every competitive place including academia works on rational principles, and objectivism is an excellent treatise to use to find your place in good parts of academia. Eventually everyone knows that life is short, and one has to make the most of it. You can't live based on what others expect from you but only by being true to yourself. Finally, life is not in God, heaven, universe, stars, nature. Life is on this planet, within you, your talents and how you make something out of it. Life is about living on this planet, in the most meaningful way possible to you. The best people you see around you are the ones who have lived their lives on this planet in highest form possible, be it best sports people, best musicians, best scientists, best artists, those who achieve the highest in them. Make your work your religion and you will thrive in this life. Life is also not about living for other people, it is about living for your own self and achieving your highest potential. It is very easy to live for other people, to do things that make other people happy. It is rather very hard to live for your own self, to find your true passion and make a life out of it to achieve your highest potential. Finally, most people around the globe have and are still just living their lives by the day doing random things, doing 9-to-5 jobs, mimicking what others are doing and so on, with no consistent thought process behind, no set purpose. Very few would be smart and enlightened enough to think rationally and make something meaningful out of their lives. And for you that decision will be yours.